And with nothing being said, let's get into it. Now, the best DLC out of all has to be a new Power Awaken Part 2. And the reason being is because of the Super Saiyan Blue transformation, Golden Frieza, and decent side quests that are slightly above the others. Now, the thing about Super Saiyan Blue's transformation is that it's not just like a power increase, right? The appearance of it, how they did it overall, man, was just really good. And also it adds more combos, it adds more skills to your already inventory that you have, which I thought was just lovely, man. And on top of that, you have post-game content, right? Where you get to go back and fight Golden Frieza as many times as you want without having to replay the story mode. And you get like a little reward of like sacred water or something like that to help you level up. And I thought that was just, an interesting addition. So with the side quests, I love how unique they were, right? Some of them were kind of funny. Some was a little more challenging. And the one that really stood out to me had to be the one with Vegeta and Kid Trunks, where he's going up against Jace and Jace's newly built Ginyu Force team, right? It just kind of has some type of character to it, man. So with those three things, I think are what stands out the most. This isn't the most content-filled DLC, but it's the one that you get the most takeaway from. And I think that's why it's number one. Now, on to our next DLC, Trunks, A Warrior of Hope. This gets the number 2 spot for 3 reasons as well. 1, it brought you the Super Saiyan 2 Trunks transformation. And 2, you got to experience the Majin Buu saga in Trunks' timeline. And you also got like a lot of content with a really good story. Now, the Super Saiyan 2 transformation was well worth it, especially if you're a fan of Trunks. Plus, you get to take this transformation and all the moves that come along with it back to the main story, something I absolutely loved about it. Now, going back to the Majin Buu saga and Trunks' timeline, for the first time in any game, we got to experience what we only got a snippet of in the Super Series, and it was well done and very surprising. And this is probably the DLC that has the most content packed into it, from an engaging story to playable characters, and even the level of difficulty which was presented by the androids, man, definitely made this one a purchase that I could recommend to anyone. But the first 2 has to be the reason why I bought the DLC. Trunks Super Saiyan 2 mode is just crazy. The combos, the additional super moves, ultimate moves. I'm telling you, man, it is well worth it, especially when you get to see him do it in the Majin Buu saga. That just blew my mind. So I had it on the Switch, and when I got the Steam Deck and had to do everything all over again, I wasn't even going to buy the Trunks DLC until I realized I didn't have Super Saiyan 2. So I purchased it. Now on to our next DLC that gets the 3rd spot. A New Power Awakens. Literally, this would be the only reason why I would purchase this DLC, is because of the new Super Saiyan transformation, or at least new at the time. But this spot was actually contended by the 5th DLC, but that was only because of the ground mechanics. So do I take a new transformation with additional skills and moves that I can also take to the 2nd DLC and back to the main game? Or do I go with the other DLC that is DLC locked? And I say that meaning that it's basically to that DLC alone. It can't go outside of it. Or do I go with that and a new feature? So I decided to go with the new transformation and the skill set. So once the DLC is finished, that's it. Like, I know it's not going to be anything else. I'm not going to revisit it. There's nothing that you can really do here. It's just basically boring, and that's kind of it. So the DLC was short, and so was my review. Now, following that would be number 4, and that would be the 23rd World Tournament. And many people may disagree with that. They may put it as number 1 or whatever it may be, and I'll explain at the end why it's number 4. But as of now, this DLC had a new ground mechanic, it had a new playable character, Tien, and just an overall new experience. Now, the ground mechanic is really good, and the DLC is worth the purchase just for that alone. Like, as simple as it may seem, this was something that kind of gave it a breath of fresh air for me. And second, Tien being a playable character. Tien is an admired character among many, right? So to get the opportunity to play with him is just one nice addition to the DLC, where it could have just been Goku alone, but they chose to do something different. And I can respect that. So you take the ground mechanics with the new features, and you amalgamate that together, and you get a really good game, especially when you have a really good story and this, that, and the other. It was just something new that this DLC brought that the other ones didn't, besides like transformations and, you know, skills. It actually brought something new as far as fighting, and that was something I could greatly appreciate. Now on to the least favorite DLC, which was Bardock Alone Against Faith. And I don't say that insultingly. It actually was a pretty good DLC. I actually revisited and played a little bit more as far as exploring Namek, and I'll put a video about that out shortly. But just this DLC alone, it was a wonderful story, right? The cutscenes were amazing. That was great. Bardock fought very, very well. Absolutely loved him in this story, but it was DLC locked. I keep mentioning that because he didn't bring anything outside of his DLC. You couldn't take it back to the main story. Once you finished it, it was like that was it. They had Prince Vegeta in there. You could play with him. That was interesting, but his story was extremely short. So it just didn't offer any longevity or any strong post-game to return back to make you want to play it. It kind of just died like after the story mode. Once you do like a full exploration of the planet, there's nothing really left to do. There's no more side missions. There's no, you know, fighting anything beyond Cybermen. It just became very dull, unless you want to go back to the training grounds and fight them at higher levels that way. But that only lasts so long. So that was the reason why this DLC actually got the last place. So this is my review, or my ranked review rather, as far as the greatest DLC all the way down to the least of them. And the reason being is because it's more so about what you get from the DLC than it just being full of content. If I can explore outside of that DLC with the items, the moves, the transformations, then I think it's a win-win ultimately. That's why I have selected them the way that I did. Now, if you want content over, you know, items and transformations, then I think the order would be different. So please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. And with that being said, I'm out.